everyone, I'm Angela Kirky, Director of Education at PPA. And on this segment of In It Together, I'm very excited to introduce you to Teshorn Jackson. Teshorn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled.
I am so excited to chat with you. We've enjoyed a few conversations to date as I've gotten to know you. You're one of our Imaging USA speakers. So we're very excited to see you there as well. But today I wanted to chat with you a little bit on this segment of In It Together, just kind of about life right now and how things are going. You know, we're in our 9th month of COVID life, and just wanted to check in and see how you are. How are things going where you are?
You know, things aren't that bad. It was started out kind of questionable at first, and then it kind of got real. Then we realized, okay, we can deal with this and just make things happen no matter what.
Yeah. So where are you? You're in Texas, right?
I'm in Dallas Fort Worth. I'm on the Fort Worth side of things. Fort Worth side's here.
So what is allowed right now where you are? Are you able to get out and be photographing? Or I know we've gone through some ups and downs where sometimes you are, sometimes you aren't.
Yeah, in Dallas, if you go in Irving, you'll see a lot of photographers shooting all day long.
Really?
You know, it's encouraged that you wear your mask and so forth, but it's pretty open. I'm hearing chatter that things are starting to close down some, but for the most part, it's pretty open.
Yeah. So what have you been doing since all this started? Anything to help?
Since all this started?
All the stress and all the anxiety?
I like to cook, and I went to the grocery store one day to buy some ginger, because in the Caribbean, I grew up on ginger.
Yeah.
And I realized ginger wasn't available. I'm like, okay, this ginger's always at this one store. So I went to another store because I really wanted my ginger. I went to another store. I'm like, no ginger here. Then I went to 5 stores. I finally found one, and the price was like real high. And I'm like, this is price gouging.
Yeah.
And I said, this will never happen again. I'm going to build a garden.
I want my ginger.
I was tired. I'm like, there's no way ginger should cost that much money when it ordinary doesn't. And I've seen other produce was missing. And I said, I'm going to build a garden. And because I've always wanted one, like I've thinking about building one in the past. And this time I was like, I'm going to do it. Didn't have a clue. So I called my aunt, she likes to garden. She gave me some tips here and there, and I built a garden. And I was like that anxious parent. I'm looking every day like, is it here yet? Is it here yet? And eventually I started seeing things blooming, and I was like, wow, I got a garden. And
that's awesome.
After a couple of months in, I started eating from the garden every day. I tell my wife, don't buy this anymore because it's in the backyard. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah, there's nothing like those simple things, I think, sometimes to get us through some of these crazy times for sure. So any good life lessons come out of the garden this year?
Yes. In fact, I made a post on Facebook maybe about 3 weeks ago. Because in the Caribbean, we eat sweet potatoes, but they're not the same sweet potatoes here in the US. And my aunt gave me some slips back in May, I think, April, May, planted it, and she told me how long it should take. And I'm like, okay, it's that time now, should be here. And it wasn't there yet. But about 3 weeks ago, I called her. I said, hey, I called on FaceTime, and I said, hey, I'm going to pull these out because I feel like they're not there yet. I've dug it out. I see small little things. I'm very disappointed because I want my sweet potatoes. And you can tell I like to eat. And
I love it.
And she's like, well, maybe try again next year. I said, fine. I hung up the phone. And I started digging them out some more. And I'm like, I saw something red. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Something's happening here. So I recorded on my phone. I'm digging. I'm like, sweet potato. I see one big one. I'm like, okay, dig some more. I see 2, 3. I'm like, oh my gosh, all of what I wanted was already there. And I realized there's a life lesson there. Sometimes we get so focused on other things. We need to focus on that one thing because it's right within our reach. You just have to keep digging. Because I was digging, we kind of surface, and I'm seeing the top part of the sweet potatoes, but there's more beneath it. So we just have to focus on what we want to do versus being so, let me go here, because everything's almost there. And in some cases, it's already there. You just have to prepare yourself for it.
I love that. I love that because I feel like as business owners, that really is often, so often the case. There's a quote that I hear often in our circle at PPA that focus is the twin sister of vision, and I think as photographers, we love to vision and we love, to daydream and to be inspired, but then to really focus and get down and And then sometimes just being patient, right?
Okay.
And letting
Gotta be patience. Like I learned so much patience from gardening because there are times I really want something. I'm like, let's just wait. Just wait. It'll be even sweeter once you get it. I mean, and even within reach, life lesson, I was talking to my accountant. I gave her an idea and she's like, you can do that. You already have what you need. Just do it. Like, all right, all right, all right. Life lesson, keep piling onto me. And my wife reiterated the same thing. You already have what you need, just do it.
I love it. So that being said, I'd love to share with our audience just a little bit of your background and kind of how you came into the world of photography, because this isn't your first career. You were an architect, right?
Correct. Yep.
Before you took on this new idea or this new mantle of being an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's my 20 years ago. I graduated college. 20 years old, got my first career, a civil designer, and then transitioned to architecture. Went back to school, got my bachelor's degree for my second time, and that was my career. It was fun at first. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the salary after a while, but I realized I really wasn't satisfied in terms of being fulfilled. And I'm like, I just felt like I could do more. At that time, I wasn't into photography yet. Only photography I knew about was the box cameras from Walmart. Do wind it up, shoot, drop it off. But I always had one with me, and I still never thought about photography. It was just me with my camera, shooting what I saw. And in 2008, I remember taking Dave Ramsey's FPU class, Financial Peace University, when I got married. I learned about negotiating. And one day I was at Target and I saw a Rebel XT, and I asked for a better price. It was on clearance, and I said, "No, we can't give you a better price." I'm like, "Yes, you can. Your answer is not good enough. Let me talk to your manager." I'm learning the things I learned through Dave Ramsey, and they finally gave it to me for $238.13. They said you have to get a credit card first. I said, "That's fine. I got great credit." And I got the credit card, got approved, paid for it, went to the customer service line to pay it off. They said, "Why are you paying it off?" Because I don't need this credit card. All my camera balance at 30% interest on 238.13. Doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I was like, well, what do I do with this camera now? And it was like a month later. I remember I took a photo of my wife, and I was at University of Texas at Arlington, and these guys were talking about needing a photographer for a pageant. And I said, I'm a photographer. And keep in mind, I had no clue about photography. I was just a guy. The camera was on automatic. That's what it came on. I didn't know what the settings meant. And they asked me, what do I charge? And I said, what do you need? And they told me we had some promotional stuff for the girls in the pageant. And this was now December that same year. And I said, well, I was like, $250. That's a lot of money. Well, you can pay an amateur, you can pay a professional. And they had no clue. And I didn't have a clue. And I said, well, I'm available on Sunday at noon. And, as professionals, we try to avoid Sundays, or not Sundays, but avoid noon shoots. But I was like, I didn't know any better. I did the work. They loved it. And next thing you know, they had me for the pageant, which took place in January.
Wow.
And I was just playing around for years just because, again, my mom was in architecture at the time. But I eventually got laid off in 2010. And I was like, let me build some other businesses. Because while I love being a photographer, I knew that probably wouldn't sustain since I didn't have the experience yet. And from 2011 to 2012, I kind of got practicing. In 2013, I said, I'm going to go full time this year. And I've been full time since 2013, shooting weddings around the country and around the world.
Wow. I love your just your ability to get out there and sell yourself even when you're not ready. Like, I feel like honestly, what I see a lot, to be really honest, and I don't mean to offend anybody, and it's not really offensive. It's I feel like I see a lot of people educate, but never pull the trigger. So it's kind of like aim, fire.
Yeah.
And you're like, fire.
I know. I'm
There's
that
no
type
aim.
to
You're like,
jump.
I'm gonna attack it.
I'm gonna go.
Make it happen.
Yeah, because I knew. My thing was, I believed in myself, even though I didn't know what believing in myself was in terms of photography. But I knew I'm gonna figure it out. Even if I was just playing around, I didn't think they'll take me serious. I mean, like, you pay me to shoot this pageant stuff. I've never shot indoors before. I don't have the right gear. I sold it. They got photos from me, and I had to sell why those photos look that way. why are the photos blurry? And that's art. Like, there's a photo of a girl tap dancing and she leaves a trail of light. And I said, when the last time you saw a photo like this? It's art. Okay. I look back, I'm like, this is trash. But
You
they don't
sold the
shut it to your
story.
mouth.
You
Yeah,
sold
I
the
sold it.
story. That's what you did.
So, but a lot of those people from the pageant and the organizers, I've shot their weddings over the years now.
So obviously you learned and you grew in your craft. How did that happen? So how did you kind of evolve as a photographic artist?
For me, it was my network, my circle. I had a very small circle of Caribbean guys. We talk every day. Like since like 2012, we were in a WhatsApp group talking every day for hours. And I remember this one shoot. I had a model, took it to a lake, and I was excited about the shoot. Went home, uploaded the files into Lightroom, exported the JPEGs, didn't even edit them yet. I remember sending it to my chat group, and one guy was like, "You shooting with cell phones now?" I was like, man, I got pissed. Like, I said, they're not even edited yet. They're just, I'm happy to show you guys the photos. And he's like, well, I mean, it looked like cell phone shots to me. And initially I was kind of annoyed, but I was like, he could have said, that's great. But as Caribbean people, we tend to be very blunt. And I had a similar shoot, I think a couple weeks later. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna make sure every shot doesn't look like a cell phone shot. So did the shoot, same location, went home, exported those unedited files, and he was like, looks like somebody bought a camera. So had he not given me that harsh critique, I would have thought about certain things when I went to that shoot. And so that circle is very, very important. And after a while, I grew into other circles, and other circles pushed me along the way. And it's just, for me, it's all about the network that you have. People hold you accountable. Because without it, you just don't know certain things unless somebody showed it to you. No matter how much you think you know, there's always room to learn. And I'm learning every single day.
So how did your style evolve?
Ooh, that's a good one. How did it evolve? I think being exposed to different things, different images. I've been looking at like movies and concerts. I'm looking at how the frames are being composed. But someone said, they told me one day, look at a concert, see what's going on. I said, okay, I'll watch an award show. And as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay, I see what's happening now. Started reading more books, watching videos, talking to my network of friends. I remember it was August of 2016. I was helping a friend of mine out at a wedding, and we both happened to be in Houston. He's like, hey, I can use your help. Cool. And while we're shooting, the bride and her friends, the bridesmaids, he looked at me. He's like, come outside. I'm like, all right, let's go outside. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean I'm doing? I'm shooting what you're shooting. He's like, let me shoot a camera. My buddy's name was Jude Alakija, world renowned, big, great guy. And he's like, yeah, but you're missing the point of the story, though. You're missing the story. He's a British Nigerian guy. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm all the excitement's in the photographs. Everyone's laughing. He's like, yeah, but there's no layers to it. I'm like, what layers? He's like, you should take a workshop. He said, go to foundation. I'm like, foundation? I'm like, okay, all right, I'll check it out. I saw the price. I'm like, really? That's expensive, man. I was like, but I said, let me kind of do my due diligence, because before I spend money, I always like to know, the background on things. And I saw that Lanny Man went to it. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I was like, okay, who in my network has been to this? And a few of my friends have all been, but they never said anything. Gita was the first person to tell me. I'm like, oh, okay, so this way you kind of push yourself. I went to it, and over time, things just evolve over time. More intentional about some frames as I'm, wedding day. So I think over time it just evolved based on my network and the training that went with it too.
Yeah, and your intense desire to learn. We can't leave that part out, because that's such a part of your nature. The more I talk to you, the more I realize that about you, that you really love to learn and you really love people. And I think that's a really fantastic combination for a wedding photographer.
Yeah, I don't like not knowing things. There's a new app called Clubhouse right now. And while I'm in the app, I'm in there in the tech space because I want to learn about tech. I don't want to be just limited to just one specific thing. No, I'm multifaceted. I got other talents and skills. So let me just, try different things.
I love that. When I was first starting, my mentor told me, I asked, about being a great photographer. And he said, to be a great photographer, study everything but. And I found that really interesting, when I was in my 20s, early 20s, late teens. And I was like, but I want to study photography. Like,
Yeah.
why would I study everything else? But now, I mean, it has made sense over my career that, yeah, just like what you're saying, like being aware of the world around you, really everything that's going on. I love that. I'm going to just go back for a second because there's something you said earlier and I wrote it down. And I really want to call attention to it because I think it's such a great way to encourage people right now. You said, I believe in myself. I know I'm going to figure it out. And if I could just encourage everyone to hear what that means, because there's so much in that sentence that's just really, really powerful. What does that mean to you when you say that?
Growing up in the Caribbean, we used to go to church every week, and my mom was a very strict parent. She'd always pull my ear, and I always felt embarrassed about it. And I never liked being embarrassed. So for me, I'm always like, believe in yourself. She even gave me the book by Dr. Ben Carson, for many years ago, Think Big. And when we came to this country, she said, if they can do it, you can do better. Always believe in yourself. And I've always felt that way. Like, if someone can do it, I can do it as good or better if I put the work in. Something doesn't always come naturally, so you have to work at it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna embarrass myself no matter what. No matter what happens, I'm gonna have a good name behind it, behind everything I do. I'm not gonna embarrass myself, and I'm gonna put in the work to figure it out. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure I can have something to show and leave behind when I'm gone. And I can't do that if I don't believe in myself. If I'm okay with just going through life not caring, that's not really believing in yourself. I want to maximize my potential. This is America, right? We're living in. This is the land of opportunity. That's what they told me when I came here. And I believe it. While there are things and issues that can hinder you, you have to figure it out. You have to navigate the spaces that you're in to make it happen. No one's going to give you anything. No one's ever just given me stuff like, I have to work for it. And oftentimes we think, oh, I'm going to just get it. There's some people who give it to them, but me, I'm going to have to work for mine. No one can take anything from me because I believe I have the ability to do it.
I'm just going to clip that out. We're going to just post that everywhere. That is what I would love. That is a great message for 2021 and beyond, getting out of this crazy year that is 2020. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that message so much. And I'm glad that you're going to be one of our instructors at Imaging USA to share things like that and more. As an instructor, what is it that you're passionate about teaching?
I know that people struggle with their finances. Again, because I've always loved money. Like, even during COVID, like, who doesn't love me? I love what money can do. Not that I'm like trying to hunt for money, but money, can solve things. And I remember last year, I kept seeing this book, Profit First, Profit First, Profit First, Profit First. I'm like, Profit First? I'm tired of seeing this book now. What is it all about? So I always go to YouTube first. That's my Google search for anything. And I'm like, let me see what this guy is talking about. I'm like, what? Okay, this makes sense. Doesn't make sense like academically, but like rationally and like logically it makes sense. I said, okay. And I started implementing that. And I'm surprised how many people don't know about Profit First system. I'm like, man, this is legit.
Yeah.
And, because when COVID happened, clients are canceling their wedding, they're rescheduling their weddings, you're not getting payments. I'm like, how am I supposed to pay my bills? Bills don't stop. And I'm like, well, that's why you use Profit First. You had all this stuff happening here. I had to pay my taxes. And I'm like, oh, money's in the account for that. I'll pay the taxes, no problem. I remember my cousin asked me, you gonna pay all that much money for your taxes? You give up that money? I'm like, yeah, that's what it's for. Someone should talk about that. Accountability, how to build accountability groups, because those are very important. Everything that I've learned through the years, I want to be available to, give them all that stuff as well. Because there are a lot of things that people don't know. As experienced as I am, there's some things I just don't know.
Right.
I was doing mini sessions, and someone said, you're doing the mini sessions wrong. Well, that's not my area of special expertise. I'm a wedding photographer. I don't do mini sessions. But I'm like, I can use some mini sessions right now. And I'm like, let me adjust along the way. So no matter how far you're in your career, there's always something you can learn. There are experienced photographers who have no clue about profit first. They were struggling financially. They had no clue. And I'm at home relaxing in my garden because money's already there. I allocated those funds last year to take care of me for this year. And so it's a lot I have to give. So I'll be talking about a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, so the gist of what I'm getting there from you is that you just want to share all of the things that you've learned with people who need the information you have so you can help them be better.
Oh yeah.
Just want to help people.
For sure, because even the accountability stuff, and that's just so, people take that for granted. Tends to be a buzzword to hear accountability groups, masterminds. That's always right. But when you actually investigate what it's about and the science behind it, you can be blown away.
So talk about that a little bit, because I know you've been part of multiple accountability groups, right?
Yeah, we started one. What was it, Cuba last year? Yeah, Cuba last year. So 2018. One of my friends, we went to conferences together. He said, "Hey, I want to be a part of the accountability group when you build the next one." I'm like, "Cool, we can make it happen." And it was him, myself, another guy in Norway, one in Atlanta, and we went on for a good while. We held each other accountable. Every week there was an assignment due based on your objective in life and your business. And wedding season kind of took over, kind of fizzled out some. And it was difficult because one was in another country, like 8 hours ahead of, time difference. But then even last year, a lot of photographers, newer ones, kept asking me, "Hey, I need something from you. I know you know a lot, you teach a lot, but I want more access to learn and pick your brain." I was like, "I don't know about all that. I'm too busy." But it kept coming over and over again. I was like, So even a friend of mine, Tamaya, has a mastermind. I told him, "Go over there." I mean, it's like, it's good. Like, enjoy it. But then I had a life lesson happen to me maybe 3-4 months ago. I'm in the back patio working out. And I wanted to work out. I want to do some cardio. Went on YouTube, like I always go to. I typed in cardio. That video had a lot of reviews, a lot of subscribers. I watched this one. 2 minutes in, I was like, it doesn't feel natural for me, what they're doing.
Right.
And I said, let me find one with a Caribbean flair. Let me type in soca. I found it. Didn't have a lot of subscribers, but it's soca. Soca is life for me. Mm. I said, okay, I'm liking this so far. I'm liking this. And I was like, something felt familiar. Let me look at who this guy is. He's someone I actually knew back in Antigua. I photographed him years ago. I'm like, this is Tony. This is crazy. So I went 26 minutes in with no issues. And I was like, while the first one was great, it didn't fit me.
Right.
Okay. So when a person asked I referred them to my friend's mastermind. I was like, while it might be great, it might not fit everybody's personality. So I said, I'm going to build one for myself and be very selective with who comes in it. And it's been amazing so far. It's been like 4 weeks in, and I told them, if you're going to join this, I need like real goals that can blow you away. I don't want I want to shoot 50 weddings. No, those are so basic goals. I wanted people who have like high level stuff that can change their family tree. Because my goals are that way too, outside of photography. And I said, if I'm going to hold myself to that standard, if you're going to come in, you need like, for real, tell me why. And it has to be just life-changing.
I love that. I've never heard that term before, change their family tree.
Oh, yeah.
You can have something. That's great.
The decisions we make now affects our family tree 5-10 years from now. I always tell my wife all the time, I tell her, we're living the life that we wrote the script for our life we're living right now. A decision we made 10 years ago, we're living that out now. We wrote that script. If you want to change your script 10 years from now, write a new script. Life's going to have its challenges along the way, but just cross it out, rewrite it, and keep going. But the decisions and indecisions will affect you 5 years from now.
So
that's my belief.
You were just full of wisdom. I enjoy our conversations so much because it's just down to earth and real and honest. And just from experiences of late, I know that you are just a humble human. And so I honor you for that. Can you leave our audience with just your best piece of advice for 2021 or your hopes for them as we get rid of 2020 and head into a new year?
For me, And I try to avoid things that are just like so surface. Again, I like being honest, as honest as I can, because I think there's value being authentic.
Mhm.
As photographers, we tend to think that's our end all be all. Whether you have a full-time job or this is your full-time, and that's even debatable if that's shooting full-time is actually full-time. But I think we have to dig deep within ourselves. Like, what is it that really makes us happy? What brings us joy? What makes us less bored? Because sometimes I know photography, while people are doing it, a lot of people aren't happy.
Mhm.
They feel like they're doing it because they're stuck. They have no other plans. They expect it to like be it in photography. Like, no, you if you dig deep within yourself, I'm certain you have other goals and aspirations and gifts. You like, as a photographer, I'm good on my turntables. I love spinning music. I love cooking. Like after this call today, I have a call with a guy he's in Nashville from Guyana who owns a ghost kitchen. I really love the culinary arts. I'm good at it. Yeah, so I'm investigating, have my own restaurants. Okay. So while we love photography, just know that if you have other gifts and skills, investigate it. This I don't believe in having one pot on the stove. No matter how flavorful it is, how good it tastes. Okay. No, always have something else on other burners. Have it on low, but at least give it some attention off and on. Because you'll find out, you might surprise yourself, like, oh my gosh, I'm really good at this. I'm not encouraging people to quit photography at all. Okay. Because we're in it because we love it. But don't limit yourself to one thing. Because we've learned in COVID, if you only have that one income, okay, you're now online. Can I get some help with PPAs, or PPEs, and what they call the SBAs and all the other acronyms? When you have other stuff in there, you don't have to worry about that as much. Okay? So just enjoy what you do, put the work in, but investigate who you are to the core. Don't be what people want you to be. A photographer asked me one day, why are you into music? I've always been into music. You just didn't know that. In 2015, I was DJing on Facebook before that was a popular thing to do. I did that because I knew 5 years from now I wanted to own a DJ company. I still love my photography, but I love music equally. I've also loved music. I grew up playing music. Okay? And again, I had my launch for my business back in the summer, and someone asked me, man, why are you doing DJ? I'm like, you weren't around 5 years ago when I was doing these lives. I planted my seeds. I built an audience. So it's not new to them. For the past 5 years, they've seen me do that.
Yeah.
It's that new audience who like, man, you're a photographer. Even DJs are like, aren't you a photographer? No, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm seizing opportunity in this country. I don't limit what I can do. And you shouldn't limit what you can do either. You can't, you shouldn't. It's not fair. It's not fair to you or your family. I mean, if you're a good painter, paint. Okay, no, I don't want to ramble and rant, but it's just,
I don't want to stop you from talking. I just love listening to you.
it's just
Like, you just keep going. I'm gonna just sit here. I'm not gonna say anything else.
It's frustrating at times that people want to box you in because that's what you're known for. No, I don't want to be just known for this. I want to be known as a good person, a great person who's left an impact on people in whatever capacity that is, whatever space that is. Because I told my buddy this morning, being on the Clubhouse app, like you see all these different areas in life that people are thriving in. We're stuck in with our cameras. Like, yeah, that's great. You can make a great life with it, but there's so much more life. I mean, there's so much more life than picking up a camera. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just maximize your potential. Do the most you can do with the time that you're given, because our time is very short on this place. And we don't know when our next, our last breath will be. I mean, if something fits, just keep on moving. Be stuck with a camera. Again, I'm not dissing photography whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. I love my photography. It's taken me around the world. I've been in places that I would not have been in had it not been for this camera. Okay.
Yeah.
Trust me, I love it. Okay? I go out in the cold, I'm shooting. Even with my cell phone, I'm shooting. Okay? So don't get me wrong, I'm not discouraging you guys at all, but just know that I have many talents. You have many talents. You have many gifts. And you don't do yourself any justice by hiding those gifts because you're stuck with your camera. In 2021, thrive in multiple avenues. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna,
Yes,
might be
I
presenting.
believe you will. I have zero doubts about you, Teshorn. I want to just appreciate you so much for being such an encouragement to our audience. I could listen to you all day. Thank you. Thank you for your heart. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
sharing. And I really appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you at Imaging USA right at home, which will be, on the screen as well.
And I'll be presenting from Africa.
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be so fun. I know you're teaching one of our pre-con classes, and so yeah, those are all happening live. So that will be extra special. That'll be fantastic. Thank you again, Teshorn, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.